Welcome back, Endgame community. I'm Pierre. He's Chris. We're here to talk about running backs for 2022. That's right, fantasy football draft season may not officially be here for a while. Doesn't matter. We're always here to help you prepare. We're doing best ball drafts. We're doing mock drafts almost every week, which you can join us, by the way, if you check out the information in the description below, how you can get involved and draft with us. But we're here to talk about our top 12 running backs heading into 2022, and we're going to start right now with our top 6 and tell you why we have them ranked the way that we do. Start with number 1, and to me it's pretty obvious here, right? We've got to go with JT. Jonathan Taylor is probably going to be the number 1 pick in pretty much every draft. The consensus number 1 pick for good reason, right? The safest pick out there, average 5.5 yards per carry, a guy who can do it all. There's probably not much to talk about here, right, Chris?
Well, I disagree. I have a different guy, number 1. And if you've listened to any of our content this offseason, you know who it is. It is Najee Harris. And look, I like Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor is awesome. And like you said, he probably is the safest pick you can make as far as running backs go in fantasy drafts. But to me, he doesn't have that, legendary, once in a lifetime type of season upside simply because he doesn't catch enough passes. And as long as Nyheim Hines is on the field and healthy, he's not going to be able to catch enough passes for that. But you know who will? It's Najee Harris, who, by the way, tied for the league lead among running backs in receptions last year. We know he's locked into 300 plus carries. He has that 100 catch upside. I don't care if it's Trubisky. I don't care if it's Kenny Pickett. They're both going to dump it off a ton to Najee Harris. And look, he finished as the RB3 last year with only 10 touchdowns. We could definitely see that number go up this year. I feel like Najee Harris last year really met his floor, and we haven't even seen his ceiling yet. So to me, no, he's not as safe as Jonathan Taylor, but that upside is just so much higher to me for Najee than it is for JT. So I have him number 1, slightly ahead of Jonathan Taylor.
All right. Caught me a little off guard there. I know you're big on Najee. Look, I am too. I'm not really going to try to formulate an argument against him. I don't have him quite that high. I just don't feel like I would pull the trigger at number 1 overall. Okay, so tell me, you do have Jonathan Taylor at number 2. Is that right?
Yeah, for all the reasons you said, safe, workhorse, awesome. Definitely number 2 for me, right behind Najee.
All right, yeah, and you're not going to see him fall lower than that. Probably not lower than 1 in any draft. Unless something crazy changes, which it probably won't. All right, so let's talk about number 2 for me. Again, talking about pulling the trigger, it's hard to kind of go back to the well once you've been burned here, but Christian McCaffrey, is there another running back who really has more upside? Of course, even higher than JT, higher than Najee, higher than anybody, because we've seen what he can do. A record-setting fantasy season, one of the best of all time. Will he stay on the field? Will he stay healthy? That's it. That's the only question. Look, you could ask that question about Derrick Henry, who was on his way to having a record-setting season until he broke down last year. You can say that about pretty much any running back who is prone, to injury, because they all are. And look, Jonathan Taylor looks really safe right now until something happens and he misses games, right? That's how it goes. Everybody is, immune to injury until they get injured. So I'm going to say, look, I would take the gamble, take CMC number 2. The offense, the quarterback, that doesn't matter. Since when does that matter in Carolina? Christian McCaffrey doesn't need the best quarterback in the world to dump the ball off to him, 100 times in the season, and we see what he can do on the ground. If anything, the fact that they don't have an elite quarterback might work in his favor because he's still going to get that immense workload. And look, this is a coach, Matt Rule, has been on the hot seat all last year. He is fighting for his job. I think they're going to stop babying McCaffrey and worrying about him and his contract and all that. They're going to throw him out there and try to win however they can. So I think McCaffrey at number 2, if he's there, I'm taking him. Chris, you don't have him number 1 or number 2. Would you go, and get him if he's there at number 3?
Yeah, for me, number 3 feels fair for Christian McCaffrey. Again, certainly injury risk here, and the type of injuries that you get concerned about, like the overuse, soft tissue, reoccurring type of injuries. He's had some fluky injuries, but now we're starting to see the more, wear and tear reoccurring injuries, which is a little worrisome. But like you said, a ceiling like no other. Even last year when he was on the field in the games he played, he was head and shoulders better than everybody else. Maybe Derrick Henry was close to him last year, but he's got the highest ceiling and the highest floor of anybody really when he's on the field. So I'm willing to take the gamble at number 3.
Yeah, you can look at it both ways. And on the one hand, he didn't have a severe, singular event that was like a season-ending injury. He didn't tear his ACL like Saquon Barkley. He didn't tear his Achilles like Cam Akers, right? But the fact that there's so many different little things here and there, and they're still keeping him out, that's almost more worrisome, right? Because it's not like one fluke injury that you can point to. Like you said, all these soft tissue injuries, these things that keep, cropping up, and the fact he does have a lot of touches just in a short time. So, but look, you got to go for it. You've got to go for him. Number 3, I'm going to put Najee Harris there. I love him. All the things, that point to the fact he's going to have a huge workload again, right? Led the league in touches as far as running backs last year. And I don't think the offense is going to be any worse with Ben Roethlisberger retired now. I think we can all agree that's probably a step up. But what if Kenny Pickett is actually good? What if they can pass the ball more efficiently now? What if, the fact that they added Pickens and they have, a passing game that can actually challenge vertically? Maybe they don't have to dump it off to Najee quite as much. But look, like I said, I'm not going to try to even make an argument against Najee. I just have to feel like the ceiling for Taylor and CMC are just a little bit higher. All right, so let's go down to number 4. Who you got 4th?
I got my boy Austin Ekeler. Look, over the last 3 years, I feel like people don't realize how good Austin Ekeler has been in fantasy. When he's on the field, he's been a top 5 running back, top 7 running back. He offers an insanely high PPR floor with a really good ceiling to go along with it. He's tied to an incredibly good offense. The Chargers' offensive line is going to be one of the best this year. I don't care they drafted Isaiah Spiller. Ekeler is better than Spiller. He's better than Justin Jackson if they bring him back. He's still the guy there. He's going to get the bulk of the touches, the bulk of the receptions. Again, just a really high floor with a very good ceiling to go along with it. So for me, Ekeler's at number 4.
I love Ekeler myself, but I got him just a little bit lower. I don't think we can wait farther than 4 for the guy who was absolutely wrecking fantasy last year. And look, heading into this year, if he's healthy, there's always a big if, Derrick Henry, can we really go past 4 for him? I can't. Look, I get all the arguments, that people made. We tried to count him out because he doesn't catch enough passes. We knew he was going to break down and get injured. He did, right? But those 8 games he played, he was leading the league by far in every category, in fantasy, in every category. So I'll take the risk. Every single running back, like I keep saying, is going to give you risk in round 1. Why not take the guy with the best upside? So I only have him below those other 3 because, well, Najee Harris is younger and has a lot less, mileage on his tires. CMC, it's the same argument because, right, they've both had injuries, but obviously CMC's ceiling is just a little bit higher because of the pass catching, and then JT's just safer. So look, Derrick Henry, if he's there at 4, I can't pass on him because all the other running backs we're going to talk about for me just don't have that same upside. So I got Ekeler number 5. Again, hard to argue against him. Spiller, I'm not worried about. Spiller wasn't my favorite prospect in this rookie running back class, but I think the fact that they did spend what these days is early-ish pick on a running back instead of just keeping Justin Jackson around again tells me I think they might want to take a little bit of load off of him, have somebody to mix it up. Ekeler has missed time here and there. No serious injuries for him, but the fact that he does miss a couple of games here and there, I think they might lessen his load just a little bit. And also, just like with some of the guys we've seen over the seasons, that touchdown percentage goes up and down. It's like a roller coaster, right? The one season where he didn't score basically at all, and then all of a sudden he's going crazy scoring touchdowns. He might see a little bit of regression this coming year. But again, these are all kind of really minor points. So number 5, I think that's really solid for Austin Ekeler. Now, tell me you got Derrick Henry next, right? We're talking top 5 here. Who's number 5 for you?
Still not Derrick Henry. I got to go with Mixon at 5. Coming off, finally we saw a healthy Mixon, right? It was always, he's good, but he can't stay healthy. Well, he stayed healthy last year. He was great. He's in a fantastic offense there in Cincinnati, one of the most efficient offenses in the NFL last year. Shouldn't take a step back. They improved that offensive line, and we know he's a 3-down back there, right? He'll catch the passes. He'll get the early down work. He'll get the goal line work. I still have a little concerns with Henry because, A, age, B, all the touches, and C, the injury he had last year was not a fluky, somebody rolled up on my ankle type of injury. It was an overuse injury, right? And that's a little concerning for me. Plus, it was a foot, which is also a little concerning for a running back. I just feel a little bit better about Mixon. I have him at number 5.
All right, so looks like we switched places here, and I have Joe Mixon at number 6. He finally proved that he can be an RB1, both real life and fantasy, reliable, and he stayed on the field too. Number 6, you're going
Derrick Henry. Finally going Derrick Henry here. I mean, I think when you get to this point, if he's still on the board, he's worth the gamble. I do worry about injury and breaking down and his age and the offense and all that, but still, he's the king. He's Derrick Henry. I think if he's on the board at this point, I got to pull the trigger.
And the one thing to look out for, it's interesting how it's going to work out with Derrick Henry. This is a team that's kind of in flux right now. This, to me, is kind of a make or break season because we know Ryan Tannehill might be on his way out. It looks like he's almost a lame duck quarterback, right? They just drafted Malik Willis. Not high, not first round like people thought, but still, they did draft a quarterback relatively early. So if Tannehill doesn't produce, if they don't make a far playoff push this year, who knows? There could be big changes in store. They don't have A.J. Brown anymore. They don't really have much as far as weapons in the passing game. So I wonder if we'll actually somehow see more Derrick Henry. I don't know if that's possible, but it might be, and we're going to find out. So that's what's very interesting to see what happens there in Tennessee. Could be a tumultuous season. All right, so those are our top 6. Promised you 12. We're going to break down numbers 7 through 12 in our next video, so check that out. Guys, we're going to be here all off season. We're talking about running backs right now. We're going to break down wide receivers too. So stay tuned here all off season long. Help you prepare to win fantasy football.